All right, folks, welcome back to another episode of the Off-Air Voiceover Podcast. My name, of course, is Michael.
And I'm Jen.
And
Hooray!
this week we have a very, very special guest from, a name that we all know in this industry when it comes to helping protect performers, etc. We're going to deep dive all of it today, but we have the one and only Mr. Tim Friedlander from NAVA joining us today. Thank you so much, Tim, for taking the time to chat to us. I've been looking forward to this because for those that listen to the podcast know, every week when we have someone on, I always have to get in the AI chat somehow. And I feel like you're the guy that I can really let it all off my chest.
In fact, I might as well leave actually at this point. You guys can just cover it.
But yeah, so thanks so much for taking the time today. Before we get into all the bells and whistles, as we might say, with NAVA, etc., do you want to just give people an introduction to yourself, who you are, and sort of bring them up to speed?
Yeah. My name's Tim Friedlander. I am the president and co-founder of the National Association of Voice Actors. I'm also a voice actor myself. I've been in the industry for about 30 years.
Wow.
A background in music. I spent a lot of time performing and left voiceover for about 15 years to perform and teach music. Returned back to the industry in 2014. I'm kind of on the cusp of the beginning of the transformation of kind of the pay-to-play platforms of Voices.com and some of the issues that were happening with the pay-to-play and technology early on. I'm a studio owner. I have 3 voiceover studios in LA, 1 in Boston. Also work in all the way from casting all the way up to payroll. Just finished directing a new video game that comes out in about 2 weeks. So I've been directing all that through all of this. I'm also a performer. So I do, I'm in Record of Ragnarok on Netflix, which is an anime. I play Ares in Record of Ragnarok.
Amazing. I didn't know that.
In Hunter x Hunter, One Punch Man, and then I'm in the Like a Dragon series from Sega, which is kind of a big video game series, been around for a long time. And then in my spare time, I do this NAVA thing that I do.
And apparently found the time stuck to us. So I just thank you so much.
You're like a Swiss Army knife of like voice acting. Like you've got everything covered.
Wow, I didn't. So much of that I didn't know. It's gonna be fascinating.
As a whole thing, and then I'm one of the co-founders of United Voice Artists, which is kind of the global coalition of voice acting industries, and then. I'm one of the new co-founders of the Creators Coalition on AI that just launched in December with Joseph Gordon-Levitt and Daniel Kwan, a group of us in Hollywood trying to
I've been reading
unified Hollywood stability around AI, some kind of unified language and discussions.
Yeah, because I've been seeing, I've started following Joseph on Instagram because I saw a lot of his posts that he's doing. He's been talking very publicly and openly about, the threat of likenesses being stolen and everything. And so you're working with him on all that?
Yeah. I'm one of the 13 co-founders. Where there's 13 of us
I didn't know that.
who did that. So it's he and I, Daniel Kwan, Jonathan Wang, a large group of people from across the industry that are names you recognize, and some that people within the industry recognize. So
yeah,
I suppose when you've got insight as being a voice actor as well, it puts you in such a strong position to be able to say, right, this is what we need, this is where it's going wrong, because you're in the thick of it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I think it's one of the advantages and one of the things that we really tried to do with NAVA from the beginning is that we're all voice actors, and so we're out here talking about the concerns. Like we're literally, I'm in DC right now, so I'm actually coming to you from DC. Was in Senate meetings today. I'm flying to a conference on Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and then a voiceover conference, and then I fly to Vegas and do 3 days of live announce for a conference in Vegas. So I'm literally going from all of the parts of this. So 12 days on the road, 8 of those days are actual voiceover work, and 4 of those days are lobbying legislation work here in DC.
Tim, it's so impressive. I mean, if you want to feel a bit rubbish about yourself, like, what am I doing with my time?
I feel like I don't do anywhere near enough.
I know. I'm going to reevaluate after this. So let's say I'm busy. It's like a whole
it's like, are you Tim busy though? Like, you've set like a benchmark now.
No, you have.
Well, just something you mentioned before, actually. So you took a bit of a sabbatical for, was it about 15 years? Did you say?
About 12, 15 years. Yeah. Left for a while. Especially, the industry, I started in voiceover around 96. And so you start looking at the generational changes that occurred
Yeah.
in early 2000s with the rise of the internet, you have the strikes in Los Angeles, which changed the voiceover industry dramatically from the
Mm.
the union non-union perspective. You have then the rise of the pay-to-play platforms. Then you have the strikes, and now you have AI. So it's been a pretty substantial. And I was out of the industry pretty substantially, probably from about 2002 to 2014 or so. I kind of
Wow.
dabbled in it, but I wasn't very
Yeah.
active.
Yeah.
I didn't really
Oh, but it
wasn't very
changed
active.
just so much in that time.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah,
Especially with
Wow.
like, yeah, with the emerging tech and stuff. And
yeah,
I mean, obviously,
Mm.
I wasn't doing voice acting at a time when there wasn't P2Ps and you were
Mm.
predominantly going to
yeah.
studios and stuff. I mean, now I think I'd say like 85, 90% of my work I do from home in the booth, and sometimes
Yeah.
you get sent out to studios. And I love the day trips. It's great fun. You sort of
Oh
networking
yeah.
with people. And it's to
Yeah.
think that once upon a time that was the norm, like, as opposed to
Hmm.
having to self-direct at home, etc. The landscape's changed dramatically.
Yeah.
Um, so NAVA's been around for about 4 years now, something around about 2022, I
Yeah.
think you started it.
Yep. Yeah. We launched in fall of kind of launched our official 4-year anniversary is in March. So we actually just had our 4-year anniversary
Oh.
about 2 weeks ago. And then we opened to membership in fall of 2022. So we're going into our 4th year of membership
Okay.
on there. Yeah.
So just going back to like the early days of setting up NAVA, what was what was the mindset at the time? Like what
Yeah,
was
what
the
was the
inspiration?
impetus?
Yeah.
Mm.
It was healthcare. Really, for us, it was trying
Okay.
to provide healthcare for voice actors. So during COVID, during the pandemic, a lot of people lost their healthcare when some regulations changes
Yeah.
happened within SAG-AFTRA that changed how people could get access to healthcare, and a lot of people lost their healthcare in the middle of a global pandemic when they needed
Mm.
it most. And so
Yeah.
our idea essentially was, let's see if we could provide a nonprofit that could provide financial aid. Myself and Karen Gilfrey, who's my co-founder, I was running a
Mm.
group in LA. She was running a group in New York, and we were both providing donations of financial aid to members of our groups.
Oh, wow.
That was all just going through our own personal bank accounts. So, originally we wanted to see if we could set up a nonprofit so that we could provide donations to our community without having to burden, take on the tax liability of that.
Yeah.
And then at the same time, we were like, well, let's see if we can figure out how to get healthcare. And we launched with Access. We have a full national healthcare plan for freelance voice actors that we launched with. I'm on the plan myself, have been for about 2.5, 3 years. And it's a great plan, but it's a great plan to be on when you can't make the SAG-AFTRA healthcare plan. SAG-AFTRA
Yeah.
plan is phenomenal. Everybody wants to be on that plan. We all want to be on the gold
Mm.
standard of that. But not everybody can qualify for that. So that's where we started,
Yeah.
and then immediately jumped into AI. That was, we launched in the fall of 2022, and 11 Labs and ChatGPT launched in January of 2023 publicly, was when they kind of hit the
That
consciousness.
is quite the first, thing to try.
So how long it's been? I thought they'd been around less than that. I thought it was about. Has it been around for nearly 4 years, 3, 4 years
Or
already?
3,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. I think January 2023 was like I guess the public, or when it kind of really became the public launch. I know 11 Labs have been around they've all been around for a while, obviously much
Yeah.
longer. But when they kind of hit the public consciousness, and when they
Hmm.
became, publicly accessible, when anybody could just go onto 11 Labs and clone any kind of voice, and then all of a sudden,
Mm.
a bunch of other, um, you know, uh, platforms launched that were similar to 11 Labs as well. So.
I just one thing I've always struggled to get my head around is just the wild west nature of all AI stuff.
Sure.
Like
Yeah.
how is it feasible that it's not already against the law to just go and take someone's voice sound or take someone's
Mm.
likeness, recreate it in a way that sometimes can be, in a not particularly pleasant situation, and
Yeah.
that is deemed that's okay. Don't worry, it blows my mind that that wasn't
Yeah.
out of the gate something that should have been protected. Now, I've said on the pod many times that
Yeah.
I feel it's unfortunate that sometimes the only sort of way to speed run to get things changed is when the people that are a bit nonchalant about it, they get affected. So if like a high up politician or a high acting celebrity of some nature, they get cloned, they get caught, they get presented in this situation which never existed, but it's not particularly good luck for them. That's not, oh, hang on a minute, that's not right. You can't do that. Oh, it's like, well, now you care. And it's frustrating because that to me seems the obvious. Like it shouldn't be normal that you can just go online, scrape someone's voice, go right, okay, I'll take your voice, and
Sure.
now you're going to be selling porno adverts. It's like, what are we like?
Mm.
It's madness. It's absolutely madness.
Yeah.
So yes, because obviously now that takes us quite quickly into the No Fakes Act, which is what you're working on at the moment. So do you want to just talk to us a bit about that and sort of the premise behind it all?
Yeah, yeah. Like the it's interesting because the U.S. is one of the few countries that doesn't have some like kind of federal right of publicity
Yeah.
or likeness rights. Right? Like voice. We call it vinyl rights, voice, image, name, and likeness. Um, and we have every state is kind of left up to their own devices to do what they want to, and they
Yeah.
can protect it if they want to. You've got potentially GDPR, you've got EU regulations, you've got other countries that have some federal protections in place. Maybe not necessarily strong, but do have some
Yeah,
federal.
they're not strong here.
Well,
Yeah.
California's got one, haven't they?
Um, California state, yeah, absolutely. So you have now kind of a patchwork of
Yeah.
multiple
Yeah.
states. So, I think 30 of the 50 states have some kind of protections, but they're not federally recognized. So depending on where you live will depend on what rights you have.
Right.
And then the question comes into play. I lived in California, but I work with a producer who lives in Texas, and
Mm.
the client is actually going to be in Washington. So
Yeah.
what
Where,
protections do I
where
actually
did
have?
the jurisdiction
Right.
come in?
And so when people say, like, yes, you do have some protections to your voice, image, name, and likeness, but not on a federal level, and definitely not to the level that we would assume that we have.
Yeah.
So the No Fakes Act would actually create a new intellectual property right in the U.S. for voice, image, name, and likeness, and it would allow you as the person whose likeness has been cloned to have some kind of takedown, some kind of recourse to get that removed. There are very strict parameters in place around how that can be removed, how quickly something has to be taken down. If the platform contests it, they can put it back up, and then you have to go to court. And there's various different
Mm.
steps in this process to do it. But it does create a new intellectual property right, which currently does not exist, and
Okay.
that is a positive thing.
Yeah. And what's the kind of the feelings in the room about this new legislation then? Like, do you feel like it's a positive feelings towards it,
You
or do
getting
you
any
think?
pushbacks?
The
Yeah.
concept is everybody agrees with the concept.
Hmm.
Like the concept is not a problem. It's now
Yeah.
you start getting into the feasibility of it, the
Yeah.
liability of
Yeah,
who
of
can be
course. Yeah.
liable. The,
Mm.
the U.S., especially, we have First Amendment rights around freedom of speech and parody and satire, and so making sure that those who are really in support of that are protected to be able to speak and say the things they want to say. Which is a huge cornerstone of this country. As a musician, I'm a huge
Yeah.
proponent of this ability to have the freedom to say and create the things that you want to say.
Hmm.
It also then borders on compelled speech, where I can't force somebody to say something that they wouldn't agree with. So it borders on these two things. So
Yeah.
yes, I
Yeah.
do have I have the freedom to say what I want to say, but I don't have the right to force somebody else to say something that they
Yeah. You
wouldn't
can't
say.
put words in their
Yeah.
mouth, can you? That's
And
yeah.
that's kind of this balance that you try and walk with this bill and with kind of AI regulation and production in general. Is at what point are you putting the words in somebody else's mouth,
Yeah.
and at what point are you expressing your freedom of speech that's protected by the Constitution?
But I sometimes wonder though,
Mm.
like there are sometimes people that, or say politicians over people that push back against these bills and these laws that try to come into place, and I still try and wonder what their angle is. When you know that when the laws are trying to be passed to protect the basic rights of a person so they aren't replicated and used in an indiscriminate way, maybe. I don't know why somebody would push back against that. Like, what could they potentially be trying to protect almost?
It depends on really this kind of philosophy about what you think the power of AI is in the future of humanity, and if you believe that AI is the future, the next evolution of humanity, then there should be no guardrails whatsoever. Everybody should be free to develop this and do as they wish. That becomes the argument.
Right.
One of the arguments becomes, the potentially these regulations may look good on the surface, but they consolidate power into the hands of a few people to decide what can and can't be on the internet. Um,
Yeah.
those are kind of the arguments in there. And then some people are just, very pro tech, right? You have, the Trump, cabinet, and Trump himself is very pro AI, thinks that there should be no regulation, that it should be unfettered evolution for America to become the juggernaut of AI technology on the planet, and that therefore everything should be under the fair use doctrine, or everything should just be given to these AI companies to become the best they can be. That would be the other argument in there.
Oh
Yeah,
God, it makes me feel so depressed, I have to say. Just
Sure.
It is. I mean, we are living in a really interesting time. Like, it's a
Absolutely. Yeah.
ginormous cultural shift that we're sort of in the midst of.
Yeah.
But I think, yeah, I know what you're saying. Like in terms of the AI sphere, let's call it for argument's sake. I
Yeah.
can understand what you just mentioned there. That does make sense. But I suppose I'm just going a bit more granular. Like, why would you say no? People can take your voice and they can get anyone to put it into a prompt and get it to say whatever you want, and there's nothing you can do about it. That level of it to me just makes no sense. I don't know why that would be a
No,
problem to
absolutely.
push back
You
against.
would think it wouldn't be a problem, but it imposes regulations and restrictions on
mm,
these AI companies, right? So
hmm
it keeps them from just scraping everything off the internet and just using it for what they want. And
That's,
so so now of course now you have to deal with the distinction between input and output, right? You have to now discuss training data and fair use and
yeah,
learning, philosophies around how humans learn and whether that is the same or different from the way that these computers learn. Um, Absolutely. I mean, again, on the surface, right? You go and have these discussions, and it seems like a very obvious, oh, well, this seems like a great thing we should
mm,
pass. And then you start to have this discussion, and you
yeah,
start to have people ask questions, and then you start to get, well, yeah, philosophically, I think I agree with this idea, but
yeah,
practically, when it goes into play, it actually is going to put restrictions which we don't
yeah.
think should be in play at all.
It's so much more nuanced than I will
yeah,
ever fully understand. I think I'm it
Yeah,
just thinking about you as a human, Tim.
sure.
It
Yeah,
must be, and for everyone who works at NAVA, it must be exhausting. Like, trying to fight for, millions of people, and
sure.
thank you, obviously, for doing that.
Yeah, yeah.
But how do you? What I don't know, I'm really question masking here, but like, how do you get up in the morning? No, um,
Yeah, 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 exactly. Yeah.
but how do you reconcile with that? How do you think, actually, yeah, that feels bleak, but I suppose I'm looking for some hope here, or
yeah.
some,
Does it feel like a bit of like an uphill battle with constant people trying to
But,
sort of bring it back
potentially,
down?
I mean, I'm more hopeful than I've been in a long time.
well, that's good news.
And
Thank you.
yeah,
Whew,
and
okay.
So
you know,
we'll
I
start the trailer with
let's start with that. Yeah,
that.
I think we are potentially on the verge of a new human renaissance in art. I think that we have that people are starting to quickly realize that the AI smokescreen that they're being sold cannot
Mm,
do all of the things that they think it can do.
Totally
Consumers
agree.
don't want it, fans don't want it,
yeah,
and
absolutely.
people are realizing, the thing that we as artists have done our entire lives, which is to make things look easy and to make it feel natural and to make it seem like it's not work, are really, really difficult things
Yeah.
to do.
Mm,
Yeah.
And people are realizing they can't do that with an AI prompt. They can't do that themselves. And there is becoming this deeper appreciation for the human artists who have created all of these things that we have created,
yeah.
that we
Yeah.
have, that really are the foundation and basis of human culture, right? Look at what, different countries have different cultures. You have different artists, you have different painters, you have different poets, you have different authors.
Yeah.
All of these things are the foundation of what we are as a culture.
Yeah. As a
And
humanity.
as a humanity, as absolutely. And you have, especially the younger generation, kids who 12, 13, 14 years old, they want to buy things, they want to own things, they want physical, tangible things.
Mm,
They're pushing back against this AI consolidation of having to subscribe to everything and never actually
yeah.
owning anything.
Yeah.
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 Um,
You
yeah,
absolutely echo my sentiments precisely. I've been saying exactly the same thing for ages. And I think
yeah,
sometimes when you say to people, I did a video on this about a month ago, like the pushback is real. Like I see in a lot of audition
absolutely. Yeah,
when it's either an agent casting or stuff that comes through, it's like we've tried AI or they come through with an
yeah,
AI placeholder. The problem is when you tell people these sorts of things, I think sometimes people think it's almost like you're blindsiding yourself with your own bias. You want to believe it because everyone keeps saying AI's taken over, and it's like, no, I'm not telling myself this to make myself feel better. It's the truth. People, and we are all people, we are all consumers in various forms.
yeah,
People are getting sick of it. They're getting sick of this shoved down
absolutely.
the throat that AI is going
Mm,
to take your job. Well, oh my God, the video industry's cooked. It's like, what are you talking about? It's not cooked. Like this little video you made that can take goes off a prompt and it lasts about 5 or 6 seconds. Great, but now
but
what?
I
No
think,
one's going to go to a cinema and pay to watch that. Like same with
mm,
AI music. Like, oh my God, look at this cool song I just made with AI. Right, but you're not going to go and download an album of that and take it to the gym. I mean, there's an element of AI content that in the instance of like, oh, that's impressive, it's generated that with a prompt. But I feel like that's it. That's the barrier is hit almost instantly. And when it comes to anything with substance, that's when consumers are largely saying, well, yeah, it's not that great, is it? Let's be honest. And I think, and we're seeing this now. There's a huge pushback from the voice acting side, where so much stuff now is coming through specifically saying, do not sound anything like AI. Come away from that.
Yeah.
And you see it
I was thinking, sorry.
I was going to say, but then you go online, you see the tech bros tell you the opposite, but they've got a vested interest in it. They want you to believe.
Yeah.
Because it's a sinking ship. I mean, look at what happened with Sora. They were only live for 3 months and then they plummeted 90 odd percent. So that's the reality of it. And what you've just said there.
I think that's part of the reality, Michael. I think we'd be naive to say, though, that it's not had an impact on people's livelihoods.
Oh no, I'm not dismissing that.
But I think it's important to recognise that, and I'm hoping that isn't going to be the case forever. And as you say, there is a pushback now when we start to see, and I think that's beautiful what you said, Tim, about that appreciation for the art and the human renaissance. I love that so much.
Yeah.
And I mean, just think about the Christmas adverts we saw, and it's obviously going back a few months, but Coke produced that horrendous AI rubbish, and then I think it was Apple, wasn't it, who brought out that ad. It was like a really it was all hand done, and they did it was I can't think.
Oh yeah, with the sign.
Yeah, with the sign.
Yeah.
And it was in like a real time or something. It is really crafted and beautiful, and obviously everyone's loving it. But and I think just that isn't in essence. Obviously, I just think yes, and I hope so. But you get in a bubble, don't you? Like in my bubble, I can think, oh, absolutely, everyone hates it, no one wants to use it, and then you're like, I'm sorry, what? Like we've left the EU, all these kind of things that you've got your own little echo chamber, haven't you? So sometimes it's good to get a sense check.
Yeah, I mean, you have both those, and Hollywood is art, entertainment, Hollywood, and I use Hollywood as like the Hollywood being the entertainment industry. So outside of the U.S., the entertainment industry as a whole is an echo chamber, right? You know, like we hear from people who like what we do. We hear from people who want to engage with human voice actors. And then on the other side, you have Silicon Valley, which is still very much, this tiny population in Central California, in the Bay Area. So it is kind of consolidated in one area. And they have, their own little echo chamber. You drive through that town, and every billboard is pro AI, and every billboard is get rid of humans, and every billboard is this. But, like seeing a computer generate a song is not impressive. Seeing it generate something that looks like it acts is not impressive. There was just an article today or this weekend where a robot ran a marathon, and everybody's like, great, well, so what? What's so impressive about a robot running a marathon and beating a human? Of course, if I drove a car, I would beat a human. I could ride a motorcycle, and I could get on a bike, and what's so impressive about that? What's impressive is that a human who trains themselves to run that marathon in that time. Any robot, I don't care if a robot runs a marathon. I want to see a robot do something a human can't do. Any human can do that. Like not any human, but anybody who trains can do that, right? A human can do that. Show me something that a human can't do. Yeah. And then maybe I'll be.
But robots are like, challenge accepted.
I mean, like, obviously, like they talk about like an AI bubble and everything. I do think that there is a bubble, just purely based on what the valuations are that they present themselves versus what the actual revenue is that they bring in. I mean, the two are just so off. But AI is not going anywhere, and there's so many aspects to it on an administration level that it can be really helpful, like in certain tasks.
Yeah, as a tool.
But as a creative tool.
This is where kind of the discussion, like AI is kind of a misnomer. We're really talking generative AI, right? And we're talking about something that can replicate and generate from somebody else. AI as a tool. Yeah. AI as machine learning, which we have had in our phones for decade. Which we, if you do noise reduction if you use isotope and use noise reduction, you're using AI in some capacity.
Yeah, right? Good point.
Potentially go, so it's this discussion around generative AI that is taking all of the art and all of the music and everything that humans have created and trying to recreate and clone those that becomes the issue. Now, their AI is going to be a part of life, right? AI exists. Right. So does the nuclear bomb. The nuclear bomb exists, but the outcome is not inevitable. It is not inevitable that we're going to bomb a country out of existence. It is not inevitable that AI is going to destroy everything. And if people just say, adapt or die, well, then, adapt, die, or fight. I'm going to fight. So, this is where that comes into play. And this goes the same direction. If you want to come into our industry, you're going to have to adapt as well. If you can't adapt to your technology working for what people actually want. Nobody is asking for this. Nobody desires
Yeah.
this technology to exist. It does not become useful for most people. You are seeing, reports saying that the companies are finding it more a waste of time, that people are 97, some astronomical number of AI projects just fail because they don't come to fruition. You
Yeah.
have people who are just using the burning through tokens at work because they're required to use a certain amount of AI every month, and
Hmm.
they're just wasting their time on these tokens to get through this project so they can do it themselves because it's quicker, cheaper, and better to do it themselves.
Yeah.
And so, like the human, this only benefits really a small number of people, which are the executives who can lay off
Yeah.
the employees they have. I don't think it democratizes anything. I don't think it may potentially provide some tools, but like it's a great thing. A hammer's a great tool when it's building my house, and it's a weapon when it's breaking into my car. So how are we
Mm.
going to wield this technology? And right now, people are
Well,
just using it to break into people's cars.
I do think, yeah, the narrative is pushed quite heavily from the creative side of things. It can generate this, it can generate that. And like I said before, I do think that there's a very strong narrative showing that. I mean, look at what happened with, what was that show on Amazon that was dubbed the Banana something?
Oh yeah, but
The animation,
Animation. I mean, I heard,
yeah.
I heard that. And I was like, who on earth signed off on that? Like, it's
Well,
so
they're back. There's a new one. There's a new one just came out last week. There's a new anime dub that just came out on Amazon last week.
oh,
Uh,
really?
yeah, then goes two. So I haven't had time to explore those yet. So it's
Has it had the same pushback?
a little bit. Yeah, it's just like
Mm.
they're just going to keep trying until people get
Yeah.
tired of pushing back, right?
Yeah.
yeah. But it's
Or
like you
they get
said
used
before,
to
like,
it and they.
yeah,
Mm.
it's like you said before, like, it's your customers don't want it, and this is one thing I've always been a bit confused about. If the general consensus from the people that you are essentially trying to push this to, if
Yeah,
the consensus from them is we don't like it, we like so much so that we've had you pull down a show off Amazon, we hate it that much, then like I think it just comes back to the fact that they've put so much money into it. They need you to believe that
absolutely.
like you will
Yeah.
like it. We'll make you believe that you like it, and we'll just keep shoving it down your throat. But like I say, we were talking to someone we had on the podcast last week, Lizzie. She was talking about this show on Netflix where it was quite an emotional story, and then she found out that was it the woman that was AI generated or just a
Yeah,
voice?
she realized that partway through. And I think it's the woman
Yeah, what they've done was they
Huh.
used AI to generate people and stories to try
to
and
retell the
complement the
story.
overall. And
But
she
she was
was
suddenly
like,
like, what this doesn't, what's happening? I don't understand. It felt like this real disconnect, and then started
Yeah.
feeling like angry. And then she realized that it was an AI generated female that was telling
Yeah.
this really emotional human story, and it was just
yeah.
horrible.
But I'm not naive. Like obviously, I know that there always are going to be when stuff like this comes out. There are obviously going to be some casualties. People will suffer certain jobs. Some of that will. Uh, some people will just say an AI version is okay for whatever it may be. But
Mm.
what I've found is even if it's a commercial project, there's so much stuff now that requires some kind of storytelling. There's like an emotional
Sure.
connection, and
Absolutely.
it's like it's not logical that a company in order like Coca-Cola, prime example, that the Christmas, the holidays are coming, it's magical, and they used AI to do it, and then you just go and look at the comments on YouTube. It's like overwhelmingly negative. 2 years on the run,
Yeah.
they stuck with it. They thought it was a good idea, but it's like the emotional
Can't think
connection's
how many
lost.
prompts it was either. And I don't know, it's
Right.
just amusing, isn't it?
It was just flawed from like so many different ways. I'm not hating on AI at all. Like I'm done with the narrative that everyone needs
Generative
to be.
AI.
Yeah, I'm done with the narrative that your job's at risk with. I'm talking about yeah, generative like creative stuff. That your job's at risk is like as they always keep saying. Oh, it's cooked, as the phrases I always keep hearing. I'm just done with it. I just think in the real
It's
world,
that's one like we got to keep in mind that like these companies have to keep developing these things. They're
Yeah.
building data centers. These data centers last 3 or 4 years. They're going to have to keep pouring money into these systems
Mm.
to keep them going. They need new performances. They need new actors. They need all of these new
Yeah.
things. At some point, like they need these systems are going to be frozen in time in whatever year, 2022, 2024, and they are going to be able to only recreate things that existed based on when they stopped getting that training data in, or when they started
Yeah.
moving to synthetic data, when they have to start training on synthetic data. They need constantly need to be updating their systems and making new material so that it can stay current, and that takes means they have to take current material from us, from artists, and the sooner artists can get those protections in place,
Yeah.
that you have, an ability to have some kind of discussion around the usage of that.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think it doesn't even cover like the environmental impact of all this as well that we've,
Oh, no, dude, that should be the forefront of all of this, and it's not.
yeah.
Right.
No.
So,
Well,
yes.
I read something the other day that said around about, I think the figure was around about 70% of data centers that were planned to be built are either not being built or have been cancelled because they require so much
Yeah.
resources that the actual
Yeah.
reality of it is that it's not sustainable. You don't hear these sorts of things. They don't make the mainstream because it doesn't fit the narrative. But
Mm,
largely, that is,
mm.
if you dive into it, that's usually what you're seeing. Um, and yeah, so I just kind of feel like, yeah, like I said before, I just felt the narrative that's peddled quite often is one that everyone needs to be aware of X, Y, Z. But if you look into it, what I will say is though, in terms of protections, oh, actually, yeah, one thing I was going to say, I saw it yesterday actually, because you said about
Yeah.
apps and stuff using people's data. So on TikTok, I think obviously with all these apps, you have to sign in and you have to consent to X, Y, Z, and largely you don't
Mm.
read it. I saw a post this morning that said that yesterday, and I checked it, it is there. If you go on TikTok, any of the videos that you've uploaded, they've now got this thing called AI remixing, and that what basically means now is, and it's everyone. This is where it's ridiculously shady. So everybody's automatically opted in, and there's no
Yeah.
bulk opt-out option. Essentially, what it means is by AI remixing, they can use your likeness and your voice
Mm.
to reproduce content using either of those in any way they see fit on the
Yeah.
platform.
Yeah.
And I was
I
like,
didn't know that, but it doesn't surprise me at all.
yeah,
It's the same for it was the same for Instagram, LinkedIn, all
Yeah.
these sites is
I think when you go around it in shady practices, again, if
yeah.
they're trying to get people on side, which is a very uphill battle in its own right, but then when you
Yeah.
start doing these underhanded practices by, oh, we've opted you in without you knowing, oh, and it's very difficult for you to opt out. It was like
Yeah.
you have to,
There's a whole education piece, obviously, that you guys are doing a lot of, but it's kind of like obviously for creatives, but I think just for humans and everybody who maybe don't realize the implications of letting people use their data, or if you're a voice actor coming into the industry and you see this AI training, you think, wow, that's thousands of pounds, and I need that for and
Sure.
it's kind of really understanding the implications of that. So I live in the north of England in a place called near Sheffield,
Yeah.
and there was a place for a while that was doing face scanning. And you
Sure.
could go in, member of the public, and for I think you got paid £40 and you had your face scanned. And they could essentially then do anything we
Anything
want
they
with
want.
it. And I was
Yeah.
like, £40. And they're like, oh, that's cool. You get to go in, they give you a juice or something, and then you do it, and you're like,
give you a
I was
juice.
horrified.
Yeah.
And I was talking to a friend, and her son had done it, and I was like, what? It terrifies me, but
Well, it's a bit like in the supermarkets. We had there's a major supermarket called Tesco's,
Hmm.
and
Yeah.
about 2 years ago, or 2 or 3 years ago, they did this thing where they said, "Do you want to be the next voice of the self-checkouts?"
oh yeah,
Do you remember that? And they were
yeah, I
offering
do.
whoever did it £50 to be the voice of the next
Was it like
self-check.
Tesco vouchers or something?
It
Not
was the
even like
most
pounds. It was...
ludicrous thing. So Equity, if I'm not mistaken, got involved and were like,
Yeah, they
"This
did. Yeah,
is shocking! Like 50 quid."
Tesco, be ashamed.
So I guess what I'm saying is, I guess sometimes some of these companies will take advantage of people
Sure.
who aren't involved in these sorts of things, and like a bit of naivety, just flash a little bit of
Yeah.
cash. It's nothing to them.
Mm,
They're not involved in the industry or anything like that, and they
Yeah.
can quickly scrape some data. You know what I mean?
mm,
Well, and that's what I think the biggest damage is going to come for, for those who are trying to get into the industry. I think those of us who are in it right now, we're okay. In 2, 3, 5 years, when we start to leave and people start to retire and there's not going to be new actors to take our place. Where are the people going to learn? Where are those
mm.
training? Where are those jobs where people would get, those training videos that are being replaced with YouTube videos? People
Yeah.
would narrate when they're trying to learn. Independent audiobooks that a lot of people would learn on are starting to go away. So,
NAVA obviously is predominantly for the US market. I think over here we've got GDPR, which is like the closest thing
yeah.
to. It's not AI specific, but based on the rules and regulations around voice, etc. I think that's pretty much the closest thing we've got.
Does
So,
GDPR cover voice?
kind
It
of.
should, and yeah, it should, and it should cover even people if you're outside of there and working with somebody who is covered under GDPR. It should theoretically cover you. So if you're in the US and you work with a client who is in who is supposed to adhere to GDPR regulations, and he's supposed to should be protected as well. And the NAVA, we've got members in I think 13 countries right now. We are predominantly U.S. obviously because that's where our legislation and healthcare focus is. But this, one of the things we wanted to try and do, and especially this was with kind of the formation of UVA, was this technology doesn't have any borders. It doesn't have any boundaries.
Yeah.
It's not,
Yeah.
not country
It's
specific.
an international market, isn't it?
And it's going to hit everybody. So, we've helped, kind of guide some of the groups in Canada and Australia and New Zealand, working with a group in Africa right now to kind of navigate their process through their equity. We're really work closely with equity a lot of times to make sure that they're kind of,
Yeah, I know that you guys have done
aware
some
of what's
partnership.
happening, right?
Yeah.
So,
What
so
does that look like? Just to again, so are people reaching out to you? Are you reaching out to them and saying actually, let's get you sorted? What's that look
yeah,
like?
I keep a spreadsheet of every meeting I've had. In the last 4 years, I've had 600, well over 650 meetings
In how long, sorry?
in the last 4 years.
I thought you said 4 days for a second. I'm like,
Yeah,
sorry. I know you're amazing,
phenomenal.
Tim, but that's
One
sorry.
meeting a minute.
And we've taken 40 of those. Sorry.
I haven't slept
saying
for 4 days straight.
I haven't slept for 4 days, not at
Sorry,
all.
I had a moment. It's a bit late.
No.
That's still a hell of a lot of meetings.
It's a lot.
It's a huge amount of meetings.
Doesn't count. That's not any of the in-person meetings. So those are another
Wow.
probably a couple hundred meetings. So we've had between the three of us and the main group of the NAVA board, we've had well over 1,000 meetings in
That's
the last
incredible.
4 years on various discussions around this,
Yeah.
around protections, around contracts, around whatever it might be. We're just I say yes to everybody who reaches out, and I want to because it takes
Tim.
especially the way this technology works, it takes one person to just push back at a company and be the first person to say no, I don't think we should do that, or
Yeah.
hey, have you can I see that contract and make sure my voice is protected? Wow,
Yeah.
didn't really. So both of you and then everybody who listens to this is enough. That's enough to make the change currently because people are listening
Yeah.
to voices who are speaking up.
So as a bit of a call out then to us and to people listening, what would you advise? What can we do to try and improve things for the industry?
So the best thing that we need to do right now is, first of all, have a contract for every job
Yeah.
that you do. Email chain is okay, but having a contract is ideal.
Yeah.
It has to have some kind of AI protections in it, whether this is
Yeah.
your first job or your 1,000th job.
Yeah.
And you have to ask these questions. You have to ask the questions of the companies you're working for. Say, I need a contract that has AI protections in it, and can you tell me how you're protecting my voice? And
Yeah.
are you going to be able to ensure that if I work for you, my voice is going to be safe? That's
Yeah.
the biggest thing we can do. You can call out everything you see that's AI, call it out, push back against people who are supportive of this if if you feel strongly enough to do that. But really the best thing we can do right now is express why it is a concern. No, you cannot have my voice. Get rid of in
Yeah.
perpetuity. You cannot have in perpetuity.
Yeah.
You have to pay me fairly for this. I want to know that there are very specific AI protections in my contract.
Yeah.
And if they are not in my contract, I cannot work for you. And you need to get those protections in place.
And you provide an AI rider on the side, don't you, as well?
We do. We have an AI rider. We have a kind of a new updated version that'll be out soon. It's just kind of nothing substantially different. We've just kind of clarified some language to make it easier to understand and clearer for those.
Okay.
We really try and listen to the industry, and when producers come back and say, hey, I would like to use this rider, but I can't because this particular clause keeps me from doing my job, then we'll go back to the lawyers and say, okay, great. So how can we get those protections in place and still let you edit things up? So one of the early things we did is people were concerned that it was too broad, that they couldn't use editing tools like Isotope or Wave because the language was written in a way that, so we had to clarify that no, you can use standard editing tools, which we expect in the industry. You can edit, right? But what you cannot do is clone this voice and send it off or sell it to somebody else. So
we saw that as well, actually. There was one of the issues that I saw somebody had was that the original company they provided their voice to, they sold their company to another.
This is a huge problem. This is an absolutely huge problem. And there is, currently there is no technology. There are multiple companies. But there's no way to trace, track, monitor, or protect your audio files. Once they have left your computer, You have absolutely no idea what happens to them. And so even once they have left the computer of the editor and they go to production, they go to whoever your client is, and that client gets bought up and sold by somebody else, you have no idea what happens to it. And it wasn't a
Yeah.
big deal before when you were like, oh, well, they're not going to re-air that ad that had a date on it for a sale that was 6 years ago. But now they can take that job they did 6 years ago and clone your voice. And if they bought those audio files, if they bought the data and they paid for
Yeah.
the data, they can potentially then recreate that. So yes, it has to be, all of these protections have to apply down the chain. If your company gets
Yeah.
sold, my data has to be protected.
Yeah.
And
It's
it's
such a
about,
good point.
this data protection. It is privacy protection, it's personality
Mm.
rights, it is consumer rights, it is so many different aspects to this that are just beyond, well, I should have the
Yeah.
right to clone your voice. It is,
Yeah.
so many
Yeah.
different parts of this.
I think for the
Can I
for,
just, sorry.
I was going to say just for the people in UK and Europe listening to this, that's kind of what GDPR can help you with. So
Sure.
it doesn't. GDPR essentially, based on what you just said, Tim, there, how it can help someone in that situation is that it sets the framework so you can go and get your voice removed from a database, but it doesn't stop people doing it in the first place. So you
Sure.
would have to do your own investigative work
Right.
to say,
Okay.
right, so this company, so if you come across a company that's got your voice on a database, if you didn't expressly give them permission, irrespective of say, well, we bought it from company X and now we own it, you can, through GDPR, you can say, no,
Okay.
I don't give you permission, you got to take it off. And they have to do it because they can get charged um, maximum fees. I think it's 5% of annual turnover, which can with a
Yeah,
maximum of like
it's
35 million euros. It's a lot of money.
substantial. It's not a
Yeah.
Mm.
small number,
Okay.
But I think this probably what everybody can do is become educated on what protections you do and don't
Yeah.
have,
Yeah.
right? And don't assume that you have protections that you don't.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which I
And
think as well,
enforce the
Definitely
ones
to
that you
push for
do.
GDPR.
Yeah.
like for a lot of these jobs that come through where particularly P2Ps are sort of rife for it. I mean, I said to people a while ago, like if you use P2Ps, be like usually the language on auditions that come through on P2P, like it's normally you can tell these people are used to working with voice actors. They put certain lingo in there. There's a certain way of
Yeah.
presenting the job, and then there are some where it's almost like the spam emails that you get through,
Mm.
where it's like we have this job for you, 5,000 euros in the next 24, 48 hours, etc., etc.
Right.
It's written in a certain way, like people don't speak
Yeah.
like that. You're
Suspicious.
using
Yeah.
terminology that people never use. You're saying things a
Yeah.
certain way. So obviously, when AI was on the rise, I was like, be careful of doing auditions on P2Ps because it's a dry audio. There's no music in
Yeah,
it.
but can I just ask something then? So we had Rolf on, who's the CEO for Voice 123.
Yep.
I'm sure he said something, Michael, about that they've got something on when you audition. There's like a tracker or something.
They have something. They have some kind of watermarking thing, metadata
Yeah.
tracking within their system, so they
Yeah.
can tell where it goes. And also, voices.com and Voice 123 both changed their terms of service
Mm.
per the NAVA. Like we have our fair
Yeah.
voice.
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah.
So, in their terms of service, they have language around this. Now, it doesn't protect what happens once the client gets it. Once the client
Yeah.
gets something, right, they can, what you agree to with the client is going to be what you agree to with the client.
So once they hire you, that's when. Okay. So
So
there
the
is something there
so
on
the
Voice
voice.
1. Okay.
So if you upload via the platform, the voice print will normally have like
Okay.
a tag on it, I suppose. But yeah, but I suppose initially what I was finding was that yeah, some auditions were coming through and it was like this looks a bit suspect.
Yeah.
I think it was
Mm.
just a bit of the data scraping.
Yep.
But then again, also just something was mentioned before about the TTS jobs that come through, and it's like
Yeah.
they'll give you 5, 6, 7,000. I know that can be an appealing
Mm.
figure,
Yeah.
but I feel like I can sympathise if somebody's not really making much money from voiceover, they're struggling to get work. I can sympathise with the mindset of why that would feel like an appealing prospect. However, there is such a bigger thing at play in terms of like jeopardizing potentially your own career, because once that company has that information and it can get passed on to other people and that voice clone version of you is out there, it can be detrimental longer term. And that's why I've always said to people, look, I know the money can look quite good, but if you can just try and stay away from it, because the landscape will change. And there'll come a point where if there's no AI version of yours which you've officially authorized, I think that will only be beneficial for you further down the line. But I guess this is what these companies do. They play on the
Sure.
the big money.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean,
It's like a
there's
here and now thing. You don't think about the
Mm.
next 2, 3, 4 weeks. It's the here and now, right now, and it's
Yeah.
trying to think outside of that. You know what I mean?
I'd love to know a couple of things. 'Cause I appreciate we're running out of time, Tim, but I'd love to know what obviously, I can't say what the success looked like for now because it's a big question, but like by the end of the year or by a certain point, is there something that you're trying to achieve or get across the line? But I'd also like to know for you as Tim, the actor, like if you've got anything like this coming up or this year, like what are you trying to do? Because I feel like we have just talked about NAVA and I'd love to know more about you.
Yeah, I think there is, the no fakes act is our most immediate
Hmm.
thing. That is a very, it is like getting, you've got to, like, we need a Band-Aid. We don't even have Band-Aids right now, right? When you have to
Yeah,
invent a
okay.
Band-Aid. So we have to start with something to get us there. I think that that's the short term. Hopefully between now and November, we will see that, if not
Yeah.
sooner. In the long term, I think it is this, it is a cultural pushback that artists need to unify to push back against the
Yeah.
companies that have been stealing their life's work.
Mm.
And that's where I think the larger picture comes into play, is more of this kind of artist advocacy, and protections for human creativity, and the the so many things that we as blue collar working class artists
Yeah.
bring to the world, that
Yeah.
we're not the Hollywood people. I live in LA and I travel to DC a lot, but this is self-funded. This is,
Yeah.
our membership dues help pay for this, but this has come at the loss of, the loss of my career. My
Yeah.
voiceover career has definitely disappeared over the last 4 years. It's come at the loss of many of us doing many other things. Like, this has become a full-time job, that we've given up our lives for and our careers for, in a certain sense. Um, that I think is exactly what I want to be doing. This is the easiest thing I've ever done. This is so much. I'm having a great time doing it, because it is something that is the right people, the right place, with the right voices saying,
Yeah.
Yeah.
being in the right place to push back against these things. And there's a small group of us, but it's a powerful group. And
Yeah.
artists have changed the course of humanity more than once, and
Yeah.
can do it again. Personally, like, this is what I love to do. I'm having a blast doing this.
Hmm.
This is great. I love directing. There's a new game, this game that I just finished up that'll be out in a few weeks, called Will. It's called Will Follow the Light.
Oh yeah, I saw
Ooh.
it's quite a
Oh,
very dark, atmospheric poster, and
yeah.
there's like a central guy in the middle of
Yep.
it. Yeah, I saw it
In a
today.
red jacket, yeah.
That's it. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And it's kind of a first person game where you get to, like, run around and sail a boat, and then you get caught in an avalanche, and your son disappears, and then your wife dies, and your mom dies, and
Oh my
it's
God.
dark. It's
Just
dark.
cheerful thing. You're just
It's
working
dark.
through some
It's
stuff, aren't
so
you?
dark. Yeah. Um, but it's been a really, we actually held that project from casting all the way to payroll. So I helped cast
Oh
the entire
wow.
game. We've recorded it in my studio. I directed the whole thing. And it's just one of those, like, little games that you don't expect it to be. You're like, oh, this is kind of cool, and then you get into it, and it's just
It's
the whole
immersive.
collective community has just created something that I think is going to be
Oh,
really, like,
incredible.
I think is going to be really, really impactful. A lot of people are going to really like.
Do you
I
do?
can't imagine how satisfying that is. Sorry, Michael.
What is
Like,
it?
because obviously we're such a small cog in the wheel. Thinking
Sure.
about gaming specifically
Yeah.
because of the years it takes to create them. And like we come in and you meet some like developers especially indie developers who've literally blood and tears and sweat and their
Oh
whole
yeah.
lives been put on hold to create this thing. And then you come in at the last minute and be like, "This is going to do some
Yeah.
cool
Yeah.
voices." And
Everything's pretty
yeah,
much done.
it must be very satisfying for you to take that kind of from the concept into fruition.
It's been really cool. And the game developer, has talked about this. He's like, I've been working with this game for years, and I
Mm.
hate it. I am so ready to be done with it.
Oh,
But I watched these new scenes, and I cried. He's like, this is,
oh,
Oh, really?
that's incredible.
you got that. So it's those things, and it's that whole group of us that have brought this thing to fruition, which
Yeah.
is great. And then beyond that, I'm a musician. I'm still out on tour, so we go out on tour every once in a while and still play around, and so it's
Do
good
you
to,
play, sing,
stage.
all the
Guitar. I
above?
play guitar in this band. Yeah.
What kind of
Okay.
music is it?
It's a 14-piece hip hop orchestra.
Oh wow!
Oh, wow.
Well, I was not
Um,
expecting that.
yeah,
No,
no,
Tim, you've
no,
got so many sides. I
yeah,
absolutely love
A
it.
yeah.
14-piece hip hop
14 piece.
orchestra.
Yep, that's
And
best way to describe
where can
funk
we
soul
see your
R&B.
stuff?
It's called the Urban Renewal Project.
I'm
Oh,
So
writing
you
it
can
ab
look
down.
up, yeah,
absolutely straight on YouTube.
urpmusic.com, and then URP Music everywhere. And actually, Matthew, our director of operations with NAVA, that's actually how he and I met. He's our MC. one of our MCs for the band. So we
Absolutely
met
amazing.
in
That
the
sounds
band, and
epic.
then he got into voiceover, and then he became the director of operations for
Nice. It must be so
But
much fun touring with each other, like, and doing this stuff.
Oh, it's great. Yeah, yeah. I
Yeah.
mean, it's been a blast, you know. And then we also, you know, we all get to go back to LA and never see each other for a week, you know. It's fine. Get the time off.
That's also good to have that time away from each other.
Sure, sure. Yeah, yeah.
what
Absolutely.
from just going back to the gaming thing quickly with
Yeah,
like the casting side of it, do you enjoy doing the casting side? Because
yeah,
obviously being voice actors and like when you're on the side of the fence, like you want to get cast in something, and then being on the other side
yeah.
where you're you almost play God a
Well,
little
you know,
bit.
it's really interesting because like in this particular game, and a lot of times it is, oh, well, I know exactly who the right person for this role is. You know, you're not even really
Mm,
casting, right? At this point, you know, I know enough people that we can basically. That's kind of one of the benefits of being in the position I'm in is that I kind of
yeah.
know so many people that I can. Why don't we? You know, we kind of will do a casting process, but it'll be like
Hmm.
here are three people that we think would be great, and one of these three is going to be the person for your role. So it's
Yeah.
you know,
Okay. Yeah.
and I specialize in kind of like hard to find talent, so like unique accents or people from
Hmm.
specific ethnic or other regional backgrounds.
Oh, that's cool.
Just this kind of big reach that people that I've met. I
Hmm.
just happen to know a lot of people who are not necessarily always represented in the casting calls, so I get a chance to
Yeah.
kind of bring some people
Have you got a
into
spreadsheet, Tim? I feel like you've got a spreadsheet.
to my brain.
I think you should write that down.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Yep, yep.
Oh God. Well,
But yeah.
no, so go. You gonna say something?
Oh, I was like, you know, and then get a chance to work with people, you know, like to see, you know, just to actually see your friends in the booth and to be able to like
Yeah.
direct somebody. You know, I think like the director, I joke about this all the time because like, you know, you put me in the booth as an actor and I'm like, there's one way to do this character. There's only one way. And then you're a director and all of a sudden you get a good actor and they give you the multiverse of this character. And
Yeah.
you're like, this can go, you know, like that's the vision that you could see you can take this actor and this character in a million different directions.
Mm.
Yeah.
And
Do you
just like,
think it's improved that process has improved your skills as an actor in terms of being on the casting
absolutely,
side? Yeah.
absolutely.
Oh,
I
really?
don't,
Yeah,
I
and
think
on the
it
directing
must
side, for
do.
sure.
Just
Yeah,
from hearing all these people do these different
yeah.
things and sort of taking bits from each one and
Well,
developing
and
your own way.
hearing how almost everybody does the exact same thing.
Yeah, yeah, we hear
Every
that a lot
casting.
from casting
Yeah,
directors,
we
and
do.
in your head, you're like, "I'm going to be completely different. This is
Yep.
going to sound different to
Yeah.
everybody," and then
We had
you've done exactly the same as everyone
our
else.
last
Yep.
season. Our last
Yep.
season was mostly focused on casting and predominantly in
Okay.
games as well.
Yep.
And I would say nearly all of them said the same thing that
Mm,
everybody comes in usually. Well, one of two things actually we heard quite a bit. People don't follow the instructions.
Sure.
Or the other one is they all do exactly the same thing and don't
They all
differentiate
sound
and stand
exactly the
out.
same. Yep.
yeah.
Yep. Yep. Yep.
I
Although
suppose
when you
it's that
try and stand out, we did have one casting director who said somebody came on and just screamed. That was the
Yeah.
not in any
it's that fine
sensible way.
line.
Just
Yeah, it's that fine line. Like I want to stand out, but I don't want to like scare them off. Like so, like you know,
it has
Well,
to be by a reason.
I think what that is, you know, is I think that I think people have lost the permission to bring their authentic
Yeah, yeah,
vision to the thing, right? We're
yeah,
so stuck in this idea that we have to do what is being asked for,
yeah.
and there is a right answer, which you find the right answer, and everybody
Mm,
kind of thinks that they have the right answer, and it all ends up being the single answer. And
yeah,
what you want, I want all the wrong answers. I want all the people
yeah.
who,
And
you
we're
know,
all trying to give you what you want and second guess what you
yeah,
want rather than just be like, actually, I think it should be played like this.
yeah, exactly.
Mm,
And those are the ones, and that's, you know, out of 100 auditions, you'll hear two that are something different. You
yeah.
know, like that really stand out. Like most everybody at this level are, well, these are 100 really good auditions.
Yeah.
Any
Hmm.
one of them would be just fine for this
yeah,
role, and then
yeah.
you get, oh, well, here's the two. That's
Yeah, that
something I
really.
hadn't thought
Mm,
about. That's
I,
something I hadn't heard before. You know.
I guess when I've been in those situations myself, my overthinking brain tends
Yeah,
to think, yeah, okay, because I know that narrative because we've heard it so many times with people we've spoken to.
sure.
They try and stand out, do something different, but my overthinking brain uh, essentially overthinks the thing to stand
Yep.
out, and then it's like now you feel you've gone too far off the beaten track, and like I kind of lose myself in a bit, and I just get in my own head too much, and it's like, and then
Absolutely.
so then you end
That's
up just
all we
playing
do.
it
Yeah.
safe.
Well,
Because
and that's the loss of being in person, right? I mean, if you had,
mm,
you know, all you need if every single person just had one little piece of redirection in an audition,
yeah.
that was, you know, that would also help casting directors immensely, where you know
Yeah.
they get something different.
Yeah.
Otherwise, you waste a whole round of casting that is just getting 100 auditions that are the same, and now you have to go back and give everybody better direction to get another round of 100 people. Like you could. It's a lot. It's a lot.
But in quite a full circle moment from where we started talking about the use of like AI voices and stuff, I think this this conversation sort of, 'cause one of my favorite games is The Last of Us, and I think the reason why that game is so great is because the performances are excellent, and quite an emotional scene, and I won't spoil it for anyone who's not played it, but in the very first game, there's an emotional scene between the father and his daughter. And that to me encapsulates like, wow, I am about to go on a journey, and I loved it. And I just think that there is the art of storytelling, the ability to be able to bring these characters to life in your booth. Like I said, it's a full circle moment. I think that's why things like AI voices are not going to take that away, because as you said, when you're directing people, you're listening to what they're doing, you give them some direction, they try something new, or they bring something new to the table. Can't really do that with an AI voice. Like being human is our superpower.
Words. Yeah, AI can say words, humans can tell stories. And stories are more than words, and that's where we end up.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, Tim.
Perfectly said. Like just perfectly ends it all. Yeah. Tim, honestly, thank you so much for your time. We know how busy you are, so taking the time out to talk to us we are incredibly
we're honoured.
Yeah, and it's just fascinating because with the whole AI, I'm not going to go on another tangent, but
please, Michael.
Yeah, sorry, it's just I just find it with the whole AI thing. It's just really interesting to learn about, like from yourselves and what the actual things are being put in place or trying to be put in place to change things, because it has so far-reaching effects on everybody. Like this isn't just like a niche down.
Yeah, it's humanity. This
is humanity, absolutely.
Yeah.
It's absolutely massive. So my hat goes to you, like for all.
Yeah, thank you so much to all of you. I mean, you put so much into it. Really appreciate it. And I definitely owe you guys a drink. I think when I see you in One Voice. Although if everyone did that, you'd be absolutely on the floor.
Welcome to
a soft drink.
I've had to stop drinking because of this. Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Yeah. Listen, we really appreciate it. Thank you so much, Tim, and thanks for listening, folks. And we'll see you on
Thank
the next
you.
one. Cheers.
See you. Bye.
All right.